This is a 2024 Lexus TX500h F Sport Performance, a new SUV to slot into the already pretty full Lexus lineup. After all, it is its 7th, and it is the largest crossover SUV that Lexus now sells. Going crossover makes this one more spacious. In fact, it comfortably offers more space inside than that gigantic LX. There are also a large number of choices in how you can get the TX. Lexus is offering 3 different powertrains, 2 of them hybrid, and 6 different trims. The only non-hybrid is the TX350, and it comes in 3 different trims, and you can get it in front or all-wheel drive. It is base, premium, or luxury. The TX500h F Sport Performance, like this one here, comes in premium or luxury, and the TX550h Plus, which is a plug-in hybrid that is not quite available just yet, only comes in luxury. This being the luxury TX500h means that this particular model is the top of the line that you can get for the Lexus TX right now. But that begs the question, how does this top of the line, brand new crossover SUV from Lexus feel to drive? Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars, from a $25,000 Ford Maverick to a $425,000 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I'll happily jump into Honda Accords, BMW M3s, and Porsche 911 GT3s. And I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a Lexus TX350 with front-wheel drive is $55,050. Adding all-wheel drive to any trim TX350 adds $1,600 to the price. Choosing to go with this Lexus TX500h F Sport Performance Luxury does include all-wheel drive as standard, but costs $72,650. And my test car did include some options and cost $77,159. With that, now is a good time to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail and show you a few of those options. Looking at the car from the front, you can definitely see that Lexus is holding to its latest design language, which has this like front spindle kind of looking thing. To me, it looks most similar to the new Lexus RX. And on the TX, I think it looks okay, not great. To me, it's just a little bit exaggerated here. It's a little bit much. Now, because this is an F Sport Performance, we do actually have a unique front fascia with the details here, so that just makes it stand out a tiny touch more. Also, this hood and the front fenders are actually made of aluminum. But I bet you're just like me and much more curious to see what's under the hood. And there is your transversely mounted or side-to-side turbocharged 2.4 liter inline-4 hybrid motor with 2 electric motors helping it out, one in front, one at the rear axle. Put it all together, you get a grand total of 366 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. Not bad at all. I think it's fascinating to see that we have such a big space for the engine bay, but not a very big engine to occupy it. Oh, and finally, windshield washer fluid goes right here. Looking at the Lexus TX in profile, you get a sense of how big it truly is, over 200 inches long overall. I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen for you to check out and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. Now, you're looking at what Lexus calls Incognito, the paint color, and this is exclusive to the F Sport Performance TX models. Also, because this is an F Sport Performance, we have black side view mirror covers, we have black roof rails right here, and we have this dark chrome window trim right here. Standard wheel size on a Lexus TX350 is a 20-inch wheel, but it can be optioned with a 22-inch. However, the TX500h, like this, and the 550h Plus comes with 22-inch wheels as standard. And for the F Sport Performance, we get this dark finish. Looking at the car from the rear, I think this is the highlight in terms of design. I think it's clean. I like that it just pretty much chops down vertically. We don't have some massive sloping hatch to rob space of the rear cargo area. I also do like this light beam that goes straight across the full width of the car for the tail lights, and I think there's interesting color contrast as you go down the vehicle. With all the seats up, we have 20 cubic feet of storage space, and with a couple clicks of a button, you now have 57 cubic feet of storage and room for 4. And with a couple pulls of the lever on each seat, you now have 97 cubic feet of storage and space for 2. And I think pretty clearly ample space for my bike, but let's find out just how ample. If I move it up to be close to the back of the front seats, you can see I have a good 3 feet of space after my bike. So yeah, plenty of space. Real quick, these are the buttons that I use to power up and down the third row. And beneath that, this does have the optional $560, 120 volt, 1500 watt outlet right there. These seats are not the most comfortable for adults, but it's actually not that bad. I am 5 foot 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and I have some knee room, 2 or 3 inches, and I have a little bit of thigh support, but the seat is quite low, so not that much. I almost have enough headroom as well, and I do have a USB Type-C charge port right there, a button to move the seat backward and forward, and some cup holders as well. This looks a lot better. Real quick, I will tell you that this interior color is called birch, and it looks lovely. Also, if you get captain's chairs, you get heated and ventilated seats for those chairs. Also, you do have your own climate control zone right here. You also have more USB ports. You also have another 1500 watt AC outlet right there. You get sunshades as well. Because we have an F Sport, we have aluminum pedals and this nice F Sport kick plate right here. We also have these solenoid driven door handles right here. So that's a nice little touch. And if you need to mechanically open them, that's how to do that. We do also have plenty of seat controls, including lumbar support right here, which is always nice. Now, for the standard Lexus TX, you get a synthetic leather material, but the luxury trimmed TX gets real leather for the seats. Power buttons right here. You're looking at a fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and right next to that, the standard 14-inch center console touchscreen. You can also see that the front seat also has heated and ventilated seats. We also have a heated steering wheel as well. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is also part of this 14-inch screen, as is the virtual assistant. Looking down, we do have an actual volume knob right there, and you can press it to turn the radio on and off as well. And beneath that, we have a couple of vents and 3 more USB Type-C ports right there. You have 7 USB Type-C ports in all. And this car also has the advanced parking and the surround view monitor cameras right there. Those 2 things are part of the technology package, which is a $2,380 option. That package also gets you a digital rear view mirror and a head-up display. More standard equipment includes this wireless charge pad right here, a pretty standard looking prindle right there, and removable cup holders right here. The steering wheel itself is unique to the F Sport, and it has media controls on the left and some cruise controls on the right, and we do of course have paddle shifters. And because we have the convenience package, we also have this driver monitor camera right here and some other safety tech. It's $895. Okay, let's talk drive modes. We have 4 drive modes: normal, sport, eco, and custom. This car does have adjustable shock absorbers, so it's nice to have those kinds of options to help change the chassis behavior of this car, not just the powertrain. And speaking of changing chassis behavior, I think it's a good time to play with that. Let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. Where does 366 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque come from? Well, The primary source is a turbocharged 2.4-liter four-cylinder engine, very similar to the one that comes in the base TX350, but the power outputs are not identical. Here you get 271 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. And real quick, the engine does ask for premium fuel to make those numbers. Of course, that is not all. This hybrid has two electric motors to help it out, one up front with the engine and a second one at the rear axle. The one up front makes 85 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque all on its own, and the rear motor makes 101 horsepower but only 124 pound-feet of torque. Of course, you can't just add up the horsepower figures together because they make their numbers at different speeds and all that, hence 366 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. Still healthy. The electric motors, by the way, do get their energy from a 1.4 kilowatt hour nickel metal hydride battery pack, and that battery pack sits beneath the floor underneath the second row seats. The transmission that is tied to the engine is a 6-speed automatic transmission, so it is a little bit on the low side for transmissions these days, but with the electric motors bolstering the power and providing, a torque fill of sorts for the lower RPMs, you don't feel like you're wanting for gears or a wider ratio spread. And besides, it's a lot better, in my opinion at least, than getting a CVT transmission, which doesn't have that same direct engagement feel. To be fair though, CVTs do tend to be a bit more efficient. As I mentioned, it is all-wheel drive motor, but there is no drive shaft. Rear-wheel drive comes courtesy exclusively from that electric motor in back that I mentioned, and according to Lexus, depending on the conditions, that can provide as much as 80% of the power that goes to the full drivetrain. Real quick, the TX350's powertrain is just that turbocharged 2.4-liter four-cylinder, and in the 350, it makes 275 horsepower, 4 more, but 317 pound-feet of torque, 22 less, and it doesn't have any help from electric motors, but it does get an 8-speed automatic instead of the 6-speed. And the 550h Plus, the plug-in hybrid that will be out early next year, that gets a 3.5-liter V6 to go with electric motors and a much bigger 18.1 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. Lexus says you can go 33 miles driving on electric alone, and Lexus says that you get 404 horsepower to play with. Not bad. But okay, those are lots of numbers and figures to think about. How does this thing feel to drive? I have to say that it is quite impressive to me at how smooth and quiet it is under normal driving. Right now, the engine is spinning under 1500 RPM and very much in the background, and we're going right around 50 miles an hour. And I'm in the normal driving mode. If I punch it, I get pretty quick reaction and good pull. The electric motors supply some instantaneous oomph to the whole system and really help get the process going nice and quickly. And that's in the normal driving mode. If I switch to sport and floor it again, well, ultimately the response is actually about the same, but we got a different engine note, which was weird. It was probably some of that like fake through the sound system engine adjustment, but the transmission was definitely more aggressive. It got it in as low a gear as it could, and we accelerated pretty darn aggressively. Now, conversely, if I put it in eco driving mode and I floor it a third time, I have to say, the response is actually still pretty good. We did not go to quite as low of a gear, but we still got good pull courtesy of the torque from the electric motors. So actually, even the eco driving mode, it's pretty decent. And again, once you just calm down and you're cruising, the engine is really well behaved, really quiet. Generally, I'm really happy with this powertrain, and I have experienced it in a few different places now. A very similar version of this is in the top of the line Toyota Crown sedan, and it felt really good there. And it's also the top of the line powertrain in the Toyota Grand Highlander. Now, the Grand Highlander is kind of sort of generally, roughly the Toyota version of this Lexus. There's a lot of differences, but in a general sense, in terms of size, 3-row SUV, and powertrain, they have similarities. Since this is a hybrid, even though it's big, you actually do get pretty decent fuel economy. You get 27 miles to the gallon in the city, 28 miles to the gallon on the highway, 27 combined. For a more than 200-inch long 3-row SUV that weighs almost 2.5 tons, that's pretty good. And another pretty darn good number, towing. This can tow 5,000 pounds. Now, this version can tow 5,000 pounds, the TX500H, but every TX can tow 5,000 pounds. Front wheel drive, all wheel drive, 350, 500, 550. That's the number. Now, not when you're towing 5,000 pounds, but Lexus claims that the TX500H can go 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. Pretty darn good. But I don't want to just tell you that. Let me show you that. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. See what this TX500H Sport performance can do. 366 horsepower seems like a good number. I do have it in the sport driving mode, and I do have the traction control off, though I'm not expecting any wheel slip with the all-wheel drive. But let's see how it goes. All right, coming to a complete stop. No brake torque for this one. Hard on the gas. Huh? Not bad. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty stout. Oh, okay. Yeah, this thing can hustle. Now, the 6-speed transmission isn't the fastest shifting thing around, but you do get good initial pull thanks to the electric motor torque, and with all-wheel drive we had no wheel slip to worry about, and yeah, that was just good strong acceleration throughout. Great acceleration from this Lexus TX. All right, let's get into the chassis a little bit. This is built on the GAK platform, which is the same platform as the aforementioned Toyota Grand Highlander, as well as things like the Lexus RX. And it is a good, solid platform to work with. It's nice and stiff, good structure underneath you. You never feel any weird movements in the car or any squeaks or rattles or things like that. Also, the fact that we have adjustable shock absorbers is a nice touch. I didn't expect that. Another thing I didn't expect, this actually has rear axle steering, which is nice if you're trying to get a little bit spirited around corners, because it does add a little stability as the rear axle turns a little bit in the same direction as the front. But it's much more noticeable and very much appreciated in low speed cornering, like parking lots, that kind of thing. This has an excellent turning radius, and that's because in the low speeds, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction to the front and really help give the Lexus TX some nice maneuverability. That was impressive considering how big this thing is. It has a very tight turning radius. And it does also have a nice ride. It is actually a tiny touch firmer than I expected, considering that this is a Lexus and a big SUV Lexus at that. But this is the F-Sport performance version of it, and that does include 22-inch wheels, which limits the amount of tire sidewall you have to work with. So considering those things, it gets more understandable. I have a feeling that the TX350 Luxury would feel pretty darn plush, but this is still plenty comfortable for me, and that's on roads like this or on the interstate. I did test it there as well. Let me show you that. All right, everybody, time for an interstate test, but real quick before we actually get on the road, I want to quickly show you how this system works, because it's actually a little complicated. So right now, if you look at the instrument cluster, you can see that we're in adaptive cruise control mode. However, if I hit this button right here on the head-up display, which may or may not be seen easily, this shows up a bunch of options, and I play with these options with this toggle right here. The up arrow increases speed, the down arrow decreases speed. This button right here is what adjusts the distance I'm asking for when it comes to cruise control, and you can see that pop up on the instrument cluster right here. And if I hit this again, it'll show mode on the head-up display, and I can change the mode from adaptive to standard cruise control. So now I have standard cruise control. Switching it again. Now I have adaptive cruise control. Finally, this button right here, this is what turns on and off lane centering. So hitting this button, you can see the lanes and the little steering wheel come and go. So that's for things like lane trace assist and stuff like that. Anyway, now with that, let's get on the road. All right, everybody, time for a quick stint on the interstate. And since I have the on-ramp to myself, a quick handling test. Now that was the normal driving mode, and really, it wasn't bad actually. It was less body roll than I expected, but you know, it's still a big Lexus SUV. Okay, back to the interstate test. Now we are up to speed going at 78 miles an hour. I'll go ahead and set the cruise control. Cruise control is set. We are going with traffic at around 78 miles an hour, and at that speed, the engine is spinning just above 2,000 RPM, and it is staying pretty quiet. Also, I do have the steering assist on right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take my hands off the wheel. And as you can see, we're going through a subtle curve, and we are staying nice and centered in the lane as we do it. And we are also maintaining a nice distance behind this semi-truck right here. Real quick, I'll show you what the instrument cluster shows me. So you can see that it sees that there's a car in front of us and that we are well and centered in the lanes. So anyway, that's a nice little view of what's going on in the road. More fundamentally, this car rides just fine. In the normal driving mode, the shock absorbers are plenty compliant, so we're absorbing bumps and heaves in the road without any trouble, but it's not overly soft either. It's a nice compromise between firmness and plushness. Also, we do have really nice cabin isolation in here. I'm hearing very little road noise, very little wind noise. It's not the quietest thing in the world, but it is definitely truly easy to tell that this is a premium car. Couple that with the fact that we've got tons of cup holders and USB ports and the nice large center console touchscreen to work with, and pretty decent fuel economy too. This would be a fantastic road trip car. Absolutely. So, what do I think of this brand new, super big inside Lexus TX SUV? It's kind of funny that Lexus found a way to add a 7th SUV to its lineup. It's starting to get to pretty thin margins between this, especially when you look at the RX, then the GX, then the LX. At the same time, being a crossover or car-based SUV gives it huge advantages over the GX and LX. Being truck-based gives that a lot more strength for off-roading prowess and increases its towing capability, to be sure. But if you just want to get places, to commute, or to carry things inside, a car-based structure is so much more space efficient. And you can see that right away. Compared to a Lexus LX, the space inside here is generous. Absolutely. And it's more comfortable, and it has a lot of nice new features. And no, this definitely would be my first choice to do much of any off-roading, but the fact that you can tow 5,000 pounds with it, that's actually pretty stout and gives you some options for a weekend getaway with a family if you want to bring a boat or maybe a small camper. My point is this: if you have a family and you want something with a bit of luxury and a bit of space, this is probably the best Lexus SUV you can get. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me quite a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, I do reviews like this all the time, as well as a lot of car news and things like that. So if you want to keep up with what's going on in the industry, please subscribe to my channel. That also helps me out a lot, and I'd appreciate that as well. Speaking of, if you're looking for something with luxury and 3 rows, another car to check out is the Acura MDX. Now that is actually considerably smaller than this, but it's got some interesting features of its own. Or maybe you do want to keep it a little bit more mainstream. Well, the Toyota Grand Highlander is definitely worth checking out, and also has 2 hybrid options. Or maybe you're looking for something else. Well, I have reviewed quite a lot of stuff by now. Something will pop up on the screen next to me. Hopefully that is something you're interested in, and if you do end up watching it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.